Thank you very much for the invitation. I feel honored to be here. Yeah, glad I can share some stuff yang maybe useful for you, and then actually it also selfishly served me because I believe whenever I'm teaching something to someone, it helps me to get better understanding of that subject as well gitu. So it's not just for you, it's actually there is a selfish interest for me, for myself. So that is a win-win situation. So I was told the audience is mostly engineers, software engineers, and that is also what I am gitu ya. Jadi I would like to share from my experience all this time what actually matters for us to become a better engineers gitu, for us to win gitu. And then if you happen on the bottom right, it's various SOCMED that I run. So feel free to get connected there as well. Yeah. Okay, let's do this. So the agenda is this 5 things. Yeah. I will talk about the gradient. I will talk about engineering mindset. I will talk about how coding is just actually a small part, even though it is important, there are other things as well. And then how you can be differentiated to be singled out from the crowd. And then I will share about the human operating systems that is installed in me, how I run basically. Gitu. So the first one is about the gradient. I hope waktu SMP atau SMA you have learned linear algebra linear tentang persamaan garis. It's a very simplistic model lah yang I use gitu ya to illustrate my point. I'm not sure whether you have seen this talk before in my talk in other events, but let's see this as a review. So let's look at this graph gitu ya. Basically, I just want to represent and illustrate our capability of learning and our knowledge in a graph. Gitu. Jadi kalau kita lihat misalnya sumbu X-nya itu adalah time atau waktu dan sumbu Y-nya adalah skills atau knowledge yang teman-teman punya, gitu ya. Nah, teman-teman itu bisa direpresentasikan sebagai garis lurus, gitu. Of course, this is oversimplified, but this will give you an idea, gitu ya. Nah, garis lurus itu kan persamaannya kalau teman-teman lihat kan di sebelah kanan Y sama dengan AX plus B, gitu ya. B adalah di mana garis itu memotong sumbu 0, 0 gitu. Sedangkan A adalah gradien atau kemiringan garisnya. Kalau gradiennya kecil, garisnya akan cenderung flat. Kalau gradiennya makin gede, garisnya akan semakin incline. Dan kalau gradiennya gede banget, incline banget gitu. Nah, terus gradien itu value-nya sebenarnya apa sih? Ya di satu titik Y dibagi X-nya tuh berapa. Jadi kemiringan. Nah, I'm using this illustration to illustrate bahwa your capability to learn is the gradient, and what you already know is di mana garis itu memotong sumbu XY, sumbu X sama dengan 0. Jadi, let's say kalau kita lihat di time 0 itu maksudnya by the time let's say teman-teman graduate dari university. Jadi from that university time, mungkin teman-teman have learned a lot di uni maupun courses, online courses, offline courses, baca buku dan seterusnya. Pokoknya your total knowledge itu kalau diukur, dikumpulin, skornya B. Gitu. That's where we start. Dengan berjalannya waktu kan naik terus, dengan bertambahnya hal yang teman-teman pelajari. Jadi knowledge and skill-nya nambah terus. Nah, cuma seberapa cepat naiknya itu tergantung gradiennya kan. Nah, gradien itu adalah seberapa kapasiti teman-teman untuk belajar hal yang baru. Dan my point is, ya, teman-teman bisa lihat di sini. Ini ada 2 orang, si biru dan si hijau, gitu ya. By the time mereka lulus kuliah, kalau kita lihat yang di garis skills atau knowledge itu sebelah kiri, saat time-nya 0, skill dan knowledge-nya si hijau itu B, itu jauh lebih tinggi daripada si biru kan yang D, gitu ya. Jadi si B kesannya lebih pintar, lebih jago lah. As an engineer or as whatever. However, si biru itu gradiennya adalah C dan si hijau gradiennya adalah A. Gradiennya si biru lebih besar daripada gradiennya si hijau. Jadi pada saat T1 pada suatu masa, akhirnya mereka ketemu skill dan knowledge-nya tuh sama. Kenapa? Karena si biru belajarnya lebih cepat. Dan dengan berjalannya waktu, ya, si biru akhirnya skill dan knowledge-nya meninggalkan si hijau. So, kalau lihat di sini, kalau misalnya I'm going to hire someone for short term to work on a short term project, I will pick the green guy. Especially kalau misalnya time frame-nya lebih kecil dari T1 gitu. I will pick the green guy. He's more skillable, he's more knowledgeable. Si biru lebih nggak jago lah dibanding si hijau. Tapi if I'm going to hire for long term to be long term with me in my team for years, I will definitely hire yang biru, bukan yang hijau. Karena dengan berjalannya waktu, si biru skill knowledge-nya akan jauh semakin tinggi karena capability to learn-nya lebih tinggi gitu. So as a leader, as a technical leader, apalagi kalau kita mau interview orang, you really need to know gitu whether you're going to hire for a short term project or you're going to hire for long term. Jadi kita bisa emphasize mau value di current existing skill and knowledge atau mau value lebih ke kemampuannya dia belajar. Jadi we need to be able to assess kemampuan belajar seseorang. So how it is more important than what they already know. Nah, dari sini mungkin muncul pertanyaan habis itu, okay, so misalnya I got my gradient, is it defined gitu? Jadi itu udah dari sononya, nothing I can change. Itu genetic, it's in DNA. Kalau IQ test, misalnya IQ-nya skornya berapa gitu, jenius 150 atau biasa aja 100 gitu, itu dan it is my fate gitu bahwa there is no way I can do karena gradiennya udah dari istilahnya bawaan orok gitu ya, dari lahir udah given that way. So that is if you don't have the so-called growth mindset. The good news is the gradient is not fixed gitu. So the gradient itu you can change gitu ya. So how you can change it? It goes back to you gitu ya. The more you learn and the more you learn about how to learn will help you to increase your learning speed gitu. And then you get to know yourself better juga gitu ya. Every person is different. Ada yang very visual. They need to see. Ya, kayak for me, I really need to see graph, I really need to see pictures, I really need to see variables, and then coret-coret gitu ya. That is how I learn, that is how I understand something, and that is how I explain something gitu. Ada orang yang mungkin lebih prefer dengar gitu, diceritain gitu ya. Dia tuh jadi lebih cepat nangkapnya gitu. Terus ada juga orang yang harus do, experience it, gitu ya. Kinesthetic. Jadi kalau dia do, baru dia akan lebih nempel gitu. Nah, understand yourself gitu. Which is the best method for you to learn new stuff gitu ya. Terus exploit di situ gitu. So the point is, it's not fixed. You can change, and you can change it by learn more gitu ya, and then learn how to learn. Gitu. So to build a better self, my comment on the gradient is that your learning capabilities is more important than what you already know. Gitu. And then to many degrees, sometimes I don't even care what you already know. Gitu. Jadi it doesn't really matter. Gitu ya. Karena apa? As someone yang ada di dunia teknologi, in engineering, what you know today is basi in 2 years or 3 years. Gitu. So it won't matter for long. Gitu. Jadi it is about your learning capabilities because you have to always learn new things gitu ya. Masih remember kan dulu saat .NET jadi gede banget gitu ya, terus ada zamannya Ruby on Rails gitu ya, dan sekarang lagi zamannya, terus kemudian Node.js booming, sekarang lagi rame mungkin Go gitu ya. Let's see in 3 years, 5 years, there will be different things gitu. Dan kalau kalian ngotot tetap in what you already know aja, ya you will become irrelevant gitu, as simple as that. Kemudian your learning capabilities to actually can be improved gitu ya. Jadi it's not harga mati. So what can help you gitu ya, adalah ya you need to have this mindset of learning capabilities is more important than what you already know, to always hungry about knowledge gitu ya, to always be curious, to always be passionate in learning new things and actually execute. You have to learn gitu. Apalagi kalau di dunia engineering ya, we should read, we should try, we should do gitu ya. Jadi like swimming gitu kan, you cannot just become proficient in swimming by reading books about swimming. You have to swim, baru you can swim gitu. So it's the same with technology. Okay, so that is the first topic. The second topic is engineering mindset. Yeah. Basically, I watch masterclass app. Itu kontennya bagus-bagus. This guys ini yang deliver the content is just like really masters lah. Let's say misalnya chess itu yang ngajar si Garry Kasparov gitu ya. Terus main gitar yang ngajar Tom Morello dari Rage Against the Machine. So at that level gitu. And about engineering yang ngajar itu adalah astronauts, yang ngajarin tentang astronauts tentang space. So Chris Hadfield ini dulu adalah komandan space station pertama yang dibuat manusia di luar angkasa gitu. So it's a big deal. And from all the sessions yang I watch, kalau misalnya I can only take one big learning from him is this statement gitu. Astronauts do not launch with fingers crossed gitu. Jadi they're not gambling gitu ya. Everything must be engineered gitu. So in whatever system you are building, in whatever system you are running, number one, ensure you engineer it to meet the purpose. Maksudnya misalnya if it's a payment system kayak Dana ya ensure it can be used well, reliably to do payments. If it's education system, ya bisa deliver content. If it's social media, ya do social media. If it's marketplace, do well as a marketplace. If it's ride-hailing, do well as ride-hailing. Intinya, whatever you build, engineer to really meet the purpose. And then the second one, just like the astronauts, just like any system, any glitches can happen gitu ya. It's unavoidable. It's inevitable kalau kata Thanos. Jadi it will happen. So, and sometimes ini happen because of things yang ya really out of our control. Intinya bisa down gitu. Misalnya partner sistem kita yang down. Jadi kita panggil API dia nggak balik-balik. Akhirnya juga jadi problem kan. Kadang-kadang networknya yang problem. Kadang-kadang sistem kita yang problem. Kadang-kadang usersnya sendiri nggak bisa akses karena internet dia yang problem, tapi dia ngoceh-ngoceh di customer service dan di social media. Gitu. So anything can happen. Nah, habis itu yang teman-teman harus pikirin adalah as much as possible recognize things yang within your control, gitu ya. And everything within your control, you need to define measures so that you can eliminate possible failures. Gitu. Jadi possible failures itu bisa banyak banget kan. Kalau kita mau group ke dalam 4 himpunan yang berbeda, ada failures yang you know, gitu ya. You know the potential failures. Ada potential failures yang you know tapi you don't know gitu. Jadi you know potential failures-nya apa, tapi you don't know how to eliminate that gitu. Ya, jadi yang pertama adalah himpunan pertama, you know the potential failures gitu. And you know how to eliminate that. Simple. Just engineer it so that it can be eliminated. Yang kedua, there are things yang you know potential failures-nya, tapi you don't know how to eliminate. That is also pretty simple, actually, because you already know what are the potential failures. Then you can just Googling, you can ask your seniors, gitu ya. You can ask your peers, you can consult to anyone untuk define the eliminations of the failures. Gitu. Akhirnya set yang ini bisa jadi set yang pertama karena kita nanya. Terus yang ketiga adalah ya mungkin ada yang kita, tapi ini less likely lah, yang possible failures-nya kita nggak tahu tapi we know how to eliminate. That is mystical. That let's not talk about himpunan yang itu. Nah, ada himpunan yang keempat yang we don't know what we don't know. Gitu. You don't know the potential failures-nya, gitu ya. And then you also potential failures-nya aja nggak tahu ya, how to eliminate definitely nggak tahu. So these are the most scariest things gitu, karena kita nggak recognize dia di depan gitu ya. So for this kind of things kita harus punya safety net. So whatever happen ya, if yang we know how to eliminate, yang tadinya we know the problem tapi nggak tahu how to eliminate, after we do research we know how to eliminate, everything yang bisa kita eliminate is there. Jadi whenever those potential failures happen, we can recover fast atau we can eliminate so that failures will not happen. Nah, for the things yang we don't know, terus tiba-tiba dia muncul aja di production, terus jadi causing failures, we need to have a safety net gitu ya. We need to have like a global exception handling so that even if we have to fail, let's fail gracefully gitu. Jadi nggak crashing, nggak catastrophic gitu ya. So there is always this big safety net, big exception handling global yang handle is if there are things yang go wrong yang not anticipated gitu. Kemudian yang keempat, we need to engineers if failures itu actually happen, we need to recover fast gitu ya. So it's about the resilience of the system. Jadi sistem down ya sering terjadi kan, kadang-kadang internet kita down gitu kan. Nah, internet kita down 2 menit terus hidup lagi, the users feels good kan, dibandingkan misalnya dia down terus 6 jam berikutnya masih down. So you see the difference, sama-sama down, tapi yang satu recover fast, yang satu recovernya lama gitu. So how you can recover fast itu actually something yang you can engineer gitu. So the point is whenever you're going to build or design something, think how you will engineer to meet the purpose, how you will engineer to eliminate the failures, recognize the potential failures, build a measures to deal with that potential failures gitu ya. Terus if it happens that we have to fail, let's fail gracefully gitu ya. And if we totally fail, udah nggak bisa di-save sama sekali, ensure we can recover fast. Sometimes mungkin the only measure adalah after we release new feature terus everything jadi screw up, can we roll back that feature fast to previous version? It can be as simple as that gitu. But it can be anything, depends on the scenario gitu ya. Jadi I make a generalization here, but I hope you get the idea gitu. Okay, yeah, this is still in line with that is problems itu is your friend gitu ya. So you should not be afraid, intimidated, or avoid problems. Yeah. So you need to embrace problems. You should actually be excited if there are problems gitu, karena it is the precursor for innovations. If there is no problem, then everything is good. There will be no invention gitu. Yeah. So let's look at misalnya di payment lah gitu kan. Dulu orang tuh barter gitu kan, tukar-tukar barang gitu, tukar ikan sama palu misalnya, iya, terus palu sama roti gitu kan. Nah sementara ada orang yang punya palu butuh ikan, tapi dia ketemunya orang yang punya roti, nggak bisa tuker kan gitu. Akhirnya manusia invent yang namanya currency, bikin uang gitu ya. Tapi waktu itu belum benar-benar ada uang, jadi yang dilakuin adalah pakai keong, kerang. Jadi satu kerang itu merepresentasikan suatu value di dunia nyata gitu. Jadi mungkin rotinya seharga berapa, 10 kerang gitu. Kalau palu atau ikan 15-20 kerang, tinggal tukerin harga kerangnya aja gitu. Terus nanti kerang itu bisa dipakai untuk belanja. So that's what people do. Akhirnya isunya ya mungkin nyari kerang itu akhirnya lama-lama susah juga gitu kan. Terus manusia akhirnya bikin pakai koin gitu. So bisa pakai koin, akhirnya uangnya koin. Nah, cuma begitu orang mesti belanja dalam jumlah besar, jumlah banyak, bawa berkarung-karung koin itu nggak praktikal juga gitu kan. Berat aja gitu. Jadi akhirnya manusia define yang namanya uang dalam bentuk kertas. Tetap aja kalau kertasnya banyak, akhirnya ribet, akhirnya bikin cek gitu kan. Terus ya yang namanya uang kan bisa kalau kalian nonton Escobar itu Narcos, uangnya kan ditanam-tanam di tanah tuh jadi busuk kan. So that is the problem with uang kertas gitu kan. Nah, jadi akhirnya to solve that problem people bikin uang dalam bentuk plastik gitu, card, debit card, credit card gitu ya, ada bank account gitu ya. Terus people akhirnya mulai juga bikin card yang sifatnya apa, e-money yang bisa diisi di cardnya gitu ya. And then now it's about digital money, payment with systems kayak Dana, GoPay, OVO, Alipay dan kawan-kawan gitu. So that's the evolution, and the innovation come because there were problems gitu loh. So my point is, if there are problems in day to day, small or big, ya mungkin itu nyebelin, mungkin itu catastrophic, and mungkin itu devastating, but still you should look at the other part gitu kan. So there is yin and there is yang. So in every storm, in every turmoil, in every catastrophe, there should be opportunities on the other side gitu. Nah, you should focus on the opportunity side, exploit that, and build something to solve that problem gitu ya. So a good way to solve a problem adalah if you can really define the problem. How you can define the problem? Yeah, create a problem definition. What does it mean? Express it in metrics or variables and numbers. Gitu. Jadi be data driven. Define the metric. Terus metrik ini ada satuannya. Terus bisa diukur, bisa diinstrumen. Once we got it, then express our problem in that metrics gitu. As an example, misalnya aplikasi kita slow gitu ya. Kita klik satu button, respon time-nya mungkin 9 second, 10 second, 8 second, slow banget gitu. So we want to make it fast. Ya udah, kita define the problem. Aplikasi ini mestinya 5 detik sudah harus respon gitu ya. Karena by definition, problem itu apa sih kalau kita mau coba definisikan? Very simple. Problem adalah gap between expectation and reality. Gitu. So kita punya expectation, kita punya reality. If it doesn't meet, then there is a problem. So when you say you solve that problem, you are ensuring that the reality meet the expectation. Then you don't have the problem anymore. Gitu. So kalau balik lagi tadi, aplikasinya slow, problem nih. Gitu. Nah, you cannot stop there. You need to define a precise problem definition in metrics dan bisa diukur. Gitu. Jadi misalnya aplikasi kalau buttonnya diklik harus respon dalam 5 detik. Nah, ada metriknya kan, response time satuannya detik. Angka yang expectation-nya 5. Nah, realitinya berapa? 8, 7, 9, 10, 8, 7, 9, 10. Nah, artinya we have a problem. Reality nggak meet expectation. So what we need to do, ya mungkin we change the algorithm, we build cache, we build CDN, we reduce the data size, we optimize the rendering algorithm, we optimize access to database, whatever, sehingga aplikasinya itu bisa di bawah 5 detik. Gitu. And then after we do that change, expectation-nya 5 detik, realitinya 4,9, 4,8, 4, 4,5, 4,8, 4,9. Wah, selalu meet the expectation kan, karena lebih cepat. So you have solved the problem, and then you don't have any problem anymore. Gitu. So what? Then the next thing gitu ya, have a note for problems. Jadi tadi yang I mention adalah how you can detect if there is a problem. Ya, if there is a wrong yang you notice. Jadi wrongnya adalah aplikasi kita lambat. I want to make it right. So a way to find a problem adalah lihat aja apa yang wrong, let's make it right. Atau yang kedua, everything is right, tapi kok makin lama makin jelek, makin jelek. Nah, sebelum benar-benar hancur, let's prevent that right thing from ending. Gitu. Atau yang ketiga, create a problem. Maksudnya apa? This is what I said. Jadi saat aplikasinya tadi udah 4,9, 4,5, 4,8, 4,7 detik, semuanya meet the expectation, faster than expectation yang 5 detik, we don't have a problem, then what we need to do is we need to create a problem. Ya, cari gara-gara, cari masalah. Gitu. Maksudnya apa? Change the problem definition. Kalau tadi aplikasi harus return in 5 seconds, now change the definition into application must return in 3 seconds. Begitu kita rubah problem definition-nya, langsung expectation-nya artinya kita naikin kan. Yang tadinya 4,9, 4,8, 4,7, yang tadinya all meet the expectation, all of a sudden, all of them problematic. Nggak ada yang meet expectation. Gitu. So you just introduce a new problem. With the same definition, it's just change the satuan, change the numbers. You create a new problem. And then, berpikir lagi, algoritmanya diapain lagi nih? CDN-nya ganti provider kali. Gitu ya. Atau mungkin, oh ternyata case-nya, implementation-nya salah. Atau, oh mungkin beberapa data nggak harus di-store di relational database, harus disimpan di NoSQL. As an example. Yang akhirnya bikin kita muter otak lagi, and then execute and solve that problem. So, that's my point. You should be excited if there is a problem atau problem yang kalian create sendiri. Karena apa? Aplikasinya jadi jauh lebih baik. Yang tadinya return-nya 10 second, jadi 5 second, sekarang jadi 3 seconds. So, it's better now, gitu kan. Jadi makanya adalah don't be intimidated, don't be afraid, and don't avoid problems. Cari problem, solve it. If there is no problem, create the problem so that you can push it to the better. Gitu. Okay. This coding is not everything. I know mungkin the majority of you guys adalah developers yang write codes, but in the real world, as you can see here, gitu ya, write code itu is just one node here. It's just part of the build. Gitu. Sementara the whole spectrum of activities itu ada banyak, and sometimes the chaos itu happens justru outside the coding part. Gitu. So this is what I always assert. Gitu. Coding skills is not enough to become a real engineer in the field. Gitu. Ya. Jadi especially when we want to build something, pasti kita harus identify dulu the problem space and then create the solution space. Tools atau framework yang biasa orang pakai untuk problem space itu ada design thinking. Sedangkan di solution space ada lean startup yang build, measure, learn, bikin MVP dulu, terus di-iterate gitu ya. Terus execution-nya ya di agile, scrum, and the like gitu. So you need to understand this. You need depends gitu ya. Kalau misalnya if you guys in the UI UX product designer kind of role, mungkin you're leaning toward more on the design thinking and lean startup gitu. If you're on the dev or engineers QA, mungkin you're more on the lean startup and the agile gitu ya. Jadi mulai dari empathize, define, ideate, terus bikin MVP, build, measure, learn, ya, ship dulu early MVP, then decide if we need to pivot atau we need to reiterate gitu ya. Terus at the execution level di sprint, ya kita mesti bikin backlog, execute the sprint, ship the increment, and then doing sprint review. But then once you have shipped this, gitu ya, it's not just stop there, gitu. There is this thing as well, gitu. So your system, your app must run on some infrastructure. Someone needs to deploy your apps, your code to an infrastructure, and then when it runs, someone has to monitor whether the system runs well. Apakah dia healthy and behave seperti yang intended gitu ya. So someone needs to look after the infrastructure, someone looks after the operation, and then someone needs to bridge between the coding world and the operation world. So here comes the DevOps, the SRE, site reliability engineer gitu. So after we plan, we create, we verify, deploy the production, release, configure, monitor. Makanya akhirnya people define yang namanya CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. Habis coding, terus kita langsung push ke repo, itu langsung automatically trigger unit testnya, automatic jalan, terus automatic package, automatic deploy di test environment, automatic test automation-nya running, everything is done, automatic create package, deploy di production, once it is up and running in production, then someone to monitor gitu. Sometimes you may want to do something yang more complicated to increase availability, misalnya kayak zaman sekarang itu udah nggak acceptable yang namanya downtime karena maintenance gitu. That is so 2000 gitu kan. Sekarang 2021. So there is no excuse you are down due to maintenance. That's why people doing yang namanya blue-green deployment. Jadi punya dua setup yang berbeda. Jadi saat kita mau update satu data center gitu ya ke versi baru, semua traffic user dialihkan ke sini. Terus ini di-upgrade. Once ini done, semua traffic pindahin ke sini. Ini di-upgrade, ini done, baru load balance lagi. So that's what people do. That what is called as blue-green deployment gitu. Dan it's already common. It's something yang people does. Dana does it whenever we do release gitu. So tapi kayaknya banyak banks yang belum melakukan itu. Jadi kalau sering kan bank biasa maintenance pasti downtime gitu. Ya. So that gitu ya. Intinya coding is not everything. From here you can see kan gitu bahwa coding is important. Gitu ya. The object orientation, the patterns, the frameworks, the libraries, algorithms, and everything. But that's not everything. That's just like, yeah, it has its part. Gitu ya. Terus there are some key principles yang tadi I mentioned, blue-green deployment. Terus mungkin kita mau doing feature flagging, canary release. Gitu ya. Kadang-kadang ada fitur baru, kita mesti define feature flagging. Jadi kita hidupin dulu fiturnya buat certain set of users. Mungkin users yang di Jawa dulu, atau users Jakarta dulu, atau users yang paling progresif dulu gitu ya. Intinya kita rilis dulu buat 5% user. Lihat ada problem nggak, ada box nggak, ada isu nggak. Kalau nggak ada naikin 10, 25, 50, baru 100 gitu ya. So see, there are complexities outside coding yang we need to do in real world. Okay. Now, let's say you are a smart learner and then you have a very good engineering mindset, you solve problems, terus you really understand the end-to-end engineering, mulai dari design thinking, agile, lean startup, you understand DevOps, CI/CD, and everything. But that is not enough, gitu ya. So that is just a passing grade to become a good engineers, gitu. So there are other skill set yang you need to have. This is what differentiate someone yang climb up the career ladder to become dev lead, dev manager, VP engineering atau CTO, atau someone yang on the other track yang bukan people manager tapi naiknya jadi architect, distinguished engineer gitu ya, technical fellow dan jadi CTO juga gitu. So these are some of the things. Number one is leadership. So leadership is not about management only ya. It's not about position, it's not about being the boss yang punya anak buah. Leadership is about your driving change. You are able to drive change. You are able to inspire others to drive change gitu. So that is leadership. Jadi whenever you see something is wrong and you want to make it right, you come up with a vision that the right thing should be like this. Jadi you should be the one yang bisa understand and realize that we are here and the ideal or the vision should be here. And then you know exactly how to move there. And you can communicate that, create that clarity of that vision that we are here, we need to be here, and these are the roadmap to go there. And let's do this, and you take the step to actually execute, not just do the talking. Then people will be inspired and follow you. Gitu. Jadi people itu nggak apa? Jadi you don't need to be designated or promoted to become a manager or a VP or a C-level untuk bisa jadi leader gitu ya. So people can see if there are leaders gitu. Kalau di film Braveheart itu, William Wallace itu said, people don't follow titles, they follow courage. So that is exactly it. Gitu. So I will give you an example gitu ya, nanti later with all these skills and how I actually applied that and how it landed me to where I am today. Gitu. Next thing is communication and presentation skills. Chances are you will not work alone. Gone are the days. Mungkin in the 80s, in the 90s, individual developers bisa jadi jago banget bikin everything on their own. There is no way you can do that in 2021. Di Dana ada 400 engineers now in my team. Gitu. So at least you will be in a squad. Squadnya mungkin 3 orang, 4 orang, 5 orang, 9 orang, 10 orang, atau kalau di Amazon in a 2 pizza team gitu ya. So that. Nah, intinya apa? You need to communicate to one another gitu ya. Just like ada nodes, then there should be a net yang connecting the nodes, dan that edge between two human is the communication between these two human gitu. So if the communication-nya lancar, ya it's all good. Tapi kalau communication-nya nggak lancar, ya mungkin edge-nya value-nya between 0 to 1, mungkin cuma 0,2, 0,4, 0,5. The highest the compatibility or the connectivity between these two, ya, the higher the sum of the two, gitu kan. So communication skill is important, and then sometimes you even need a formal way of communication. You need to make presentations to your manager, to your C-level, gitu ya. You have ideas, you need blessing, you need investment, you need support, you want to pitch, gitu. So you need to be able to present, gitu ya. And then yang tadi ya, teamwork, ya. After the plan is approved, you will work with the team. And then another thing yang I usually talk about is the mental composure, mental toughness. Jadi in situations ya, in real life, there will be challenges gitu. The storm will hit you gitu. The term yang I always use gitu ya. So sometimes orang tuh bisa pinter banget, jago banget in peace time. Saat everything is sunny, sunshine, and rainbow gitu. Tapi pada saat it's a rainy day, it's thunder, ya, it's lightning, it's a storm gitu, angin kencang, ribut. When things get devastating, when there are hardships like pandemic gitu ya, atau sistem kita di attack oleh fraudsters, can be anything. It's not easy gitu. Atau kita udah capek tapi deadline mesti di ship besok these new features gitu ya. So there will be hardship. Nah, sometimes in this situation, orang yang tadinya pinter banget bisa jadi bego banget gitu. Kalau teman-teman pernah nonton film, I think it was The Lone Survivor, yang cerita tentang Navy SEALs di Afghanistan, and then mereka ceritain waktu mereka masih pendidikan di Navy SEALs, mereka tuh orangnya pinter-pinter banget gitu kan. Terus mereka dicelup di air gitu tengah malam, yang suhunya rendah banget, mungkin about 10 degrees Celsius gitu, jadi freezing. Terus mereka dicelupin di situ gitu ya, setinggi leher, terus dibawa naik, masih kedinginan, ditanya hal simple kayak 6 kali 3 berapa. Jadi mereka kayak nggak even bisa think gitu loh. And then after a long pause, they reply 18, it's 18. See, maksudnya 6 times 3 is 18 is like, mestinya secepat itu kita bisa jawab. Tapi in that situation, when we have to deal with pain, when we are in difficult situation, simple question kayak gitu jadi nggak bisa dijawab. There is a reason why Navy SEALs train so hard like that, because they want to anticipate if there are things yang so hard, they can still think straight, think well gitu. Jadi they have that mental composure untuk bisa take over themselves in that situation gitu ya. Jadi my point is you will face hardship gitu. You will face difficult things. So you need to be able to really deal with it. Gitu ya. Embrace the suck gitu. So again, not every day will be sunshine and rainbow. There will be thunders and lightning and dark and wet. So in these days, yeah, you need to be composed gitu. Ya, jadi I always say you cannot calm down the storm, but you can calm yourself down in the storm gitu. There are things yang outside your control, don't mind it. Focus on things that you can control gitu. Jadi storm is outside of your control gitu. You are not an X-Men yang bisa play around with the storm gitu. Jadi it's out of your control. But yourself, your thoughts, your words, your feelings, your actions, how you react, how to respond in any situation, you should be able to control it. Gitu. So calming yourself down in the storm is within your control. So focus on that. How to deal with that? Train gitu. You need to expose yourself to a controlled hardship gitu. Ya, jadi kalau ada hardship, don't back down, don't avoid it. Just try to learn to deal with it, so that when there is a bigger storm, you are more ready gitu. Then if you really already have this mindset, you will not be afraid or fear about the storm anymore gitu. Jadi you even mungkin come in charging into the storm head first gitu. I always tell my team that you need to separate between yang namanya reality and illusions gitu. You need to separate between jadi antara danger sama fear gitu. Danger is real. You need to mitigate that. But fear is not real. It's irrational. It's only in your head. Gitu. So if you recognize the dangers and you define the mitigation for all the dangers, there should be no reason to have fear. Gitu. So you can deal with things. Gitu. Intinya, if you are composed, jadi you can still smart even if it's in hard situation. Okay. And the last one is business acumen. So you need to understand that at the end of the day, the technology serve a business goal, serve a business purpose. So you need to really understand at least what is the business model of the company that you are working at. What is the business model? Who are the customers? Who are the segment that you are serving? You need to understand what is the value proposition you actually deliver to that customer, how you deliver that value, how the customer can interact with you, what we need to do to create that value proposition, and then who we should partner with, and what kind of activities we should do to build this value proposition. What are the actual cost structure of our value proposition creation, and then how we make money actually, revenue streamnya kira-kira seperti apa. So you should have a feeling, and you should have an understanding of how the business is running, and then you can correlate whatever you do, how it will impact that. So you need to understand the business KPI. You need to understand the North Star metrics of the company, and then you should be able to relate your work as an engineer to the North Star, the metric of the company itu kira-kira seperti apa, gitu. Okay, and then the last part is the human operating system. Oh, before we go there, I just want to give an illustration. I promised you guys tadi di sini ya. So before joining Microsoft, I work in a small company named Intimedia. We started with maybe 10, 12 engineers, and then we end up at 100 plus engineers. And then I left to join Microsoft. So I joined this team as a dev lead. Gitu ya. And then, of course, in this company that I actually climbed up to become the architects, and then the distinguished engineer, and end up as the CTO of this company. So what did I do? Jadi basically Intimedia itu adalah software house. It's a custom-made software, tailored software delivery lah. Melayanin perusahaan-perusahaan seperti Astra, BCA, pokoknya customers untuk bikinin software buat mereka. And we have many projects. We have people deployed in many different projects. I was deployed in one of the many projects. And then I was deployed in other projects. Then I realized there are issues. In every different project, I need to adapt the coding style. And then I also see the way we access database is tergantung developer yang ngerjain sebelumnya kayak apa, caranya beda-beda di tiap project. Jadi it will be very hard for us. It's always a learning curve whenever we need to be redeployed in other project gitu. Atau misalnya ada project lama yang kita mesti maintain, pas kita balik lagi lihat code base-nya, it's something yang unfamiliar lagi. So I saw that problem, and every other developers in that company also saw that problem. And then everyone else decided just to do the 9 to 6 work. They're doing a good job. I don't want to mengecilkan their effort. They did a great job. Yeah. So they deliver what they need to deliver. But then I chose it I see it as a problem. So I want to solve this. So I search in the internet and define on my own, terus put together in one documentation. Waktu itu kita pakai .NET, and then I define the so-called .NET coding guidelines for Intimedians. Jadi buat programmer di Intimedia. So I come up with the document, I bring it to my boss, and I told them, we have a problem. Kalau kita mau switch projects, it's very different. Even within one project yang sama, satu developer dengan developer lain, style-nya beda-beda. Gitu. Jadi, if I have to manage atau solve bugs yang dibikin oleh developer lain sebelumnya, I always need to get familiar with the style. So we need to have a coding guidelines yang everyone must follow. So the boss look at that and say, okay, this is great stuff. Let's implement that. So I built that outside my working hours. Gitu ya. After working hours, I write that documents, I do my own research, and I build that. Another thing is access to database. Jadi .NET itu object orientation, SQL Server itu relational. Karena beda ya antara dua dunia, object oriented dan relational. So it's different. Makanya di luar sana banyak framework ORM, Object Relational Mapper. Jadi object oriented itu isi banget untuk di-put ke database, atau database yang tadinya tabel itu bisa di-join di many different tabel, ditarik, ujuk-ujuk udah jadi object di .NET gitu. So di Java ORM udah ngetop banget. Di .NET waktu itu belum, karena di .NET itu mindsetnya masih data set, data table, dan sangat relasional. So I thought kita udah developnya pakai object orientation, tapi the way we access database beda-beda. And it's not productive as well. Some guys using data set, some guys pakai object oriented, some guys bikin ORM sendiri, some guys pakai stored procedure, it's just different. So what I did is similar. Jadi in my free time, after hours or on weekend, I built an ORM. Gitu. Bikin library ORM as a prototype. I built a code generation tool as well. So I tried that, then it actually works. So what I did, I talked to my boss again, and I demonstrate. I show that it actually works. Gitu. And then he said, okay, let's experiment, let's POC in one project. So that's what we did. And we could see how code-nya seragam, same way to access database, developer productivity is increased. Those we replicate in other projects, and we consistently deliver the same results. And then my boss said, okay, let's make you the architect of the company. Okay, so after that, I'm continue actively driving this, and then, okay, let's make you the distinguished engineer of the company. Jadi you are like the number one engineers. And then after that, okay, since you need to also understand the business aspect, you need to define strategy, talent strategy, and everything. Let's make you also a C-level. Then you become a CTO in the company. So that's what happened. Imagine if I also chose like what others chose. Just do the 9 to 6, not doing the extra mile, not doing this like solving problems, not recognizing the problems, not seeing and having the vision of what should be, and not actually taking the step to actually doing it, not taking the step to communicate and present this to my boss, not work together with my team to do the prototyping, gitu ya. I may not get that promotion. Gitu loh. So my point is, promotion itu is not given, it's to be earned gitu. And then nggak ada ceritanya kalian dipromote dulu di higher level, then you become someone at that level. If you want to become someone at higher level, think, talk, and act like one yang already at that level. Produce result like someone yang already at that level. Jadi the company will see that, man, you're not there anymore. You don't belong in that level anymore. You are actually here. Then promotion is just a corollary. It's something yang only logical. Gitu. Jadi there is no escape from the management but to make you get promoted. Gitu. Jadi kalau kalian nunggu di-promote dulu baru you want to do all this. Jadi misalnya I decided nanti deh kalau gue dijadiin arsitek atau gue jadi distinguished engineer, then I will make a coding guidelines deh. Then I will make a library ORM deh. Then I will make a code generation tools deh. Gitu ya. If I chose that way, that they may never come. So what I chose, I built that. I show that to my boss. I pitch, do a prototype, and work with the team. And it happens. And my boss, yeah, no escape. But yeah. Okay, so how to make this happen, Norman? Yeah, definitely you would need authority. Then you need to be promoted, gitu loh. So that's what singled me out from the crowd, gitu. And you can actually use the same modus operandi in your current day-to-day work now, gitu. Yeah. So this is the human operating system. This is the OS I installed in me. This is the code I live by. Number one is be the best possible version of yourself. Look for ways to improve yourself. See how you can grow. Keep learning. Never settle. Even though when I'm delivering this talk, for me, it's actually learning. Yeah? As I always say, whenever you can really articulate some topic to someone, you can only do that if you can really master the topic. And by delivering it to someone, you can actually enhance your knowledge on the topic yourself. Because you're going to think, you're going to talk about it, you will hear it yourself again. So it will only emphasize it in you. And then be honest, speak your truth without fear of being rejected, judged, or misunderstood. Do not lie. Be authentic. So be yourself, be confident in who you are without shame of being rejected. So this is as authentic as I am. Gitu maksudnya. This is my style. This is how I talk. This is how I think. This is my haircut. Gitu maksudnya. Ya, this is me. Gitu maksudnya. Ya, people may judge me, kok CTO begitu. So what? Gitu kan. Ya, it's just be authentic, be who you are. Gitu ya. Terus be accepting the other way around gitu. Jadi accept that others need to be honest, others can be authentic gitu ya. Accept things that are outside of your control gitu ya. And then terakhir yang tadi, be responsible. Jadi, you are in control, you are in charge, you are responsible of your feelings, thoughts, words, and action. You should take ownership of your life. Gitu. Jadi, whatever I'm saying tonight, whenever I say every day, whatever it's in my head when I talk, whatever I feel when someone misalnya attack me, when someone make conflict at me at work or whatever, I'm in control of all the feeling, thoughts, words, and actions. Gitu. Jadi, you should be doing the same. Gitu. Yeah, so take ownership of your life. So, and then when I built this slide, I actually don't know about this World Economic Forum Top 10 Skills of 2025. I just read about this yesterday. I just bumped into this. And then I look this type of skill yang menurut World Economic Forum is important. Kalau kita lihat di kiri bawah, ada problem solving, self-management, working with people, and then technology use and development. Very aligned to the conclusion that I got from my 20 years experience gitu. Jadi I didn't read this before. I just like put that conclusion myself, and then World Economic Forum come up with this. And when I match them, it's like this is very aligned. So it really makes sense. Jadi analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and so forth sampai yang paling bawah, reasoning, problem solving and ideation. Terus ada leadership and social influence. Terus yang hijau yang nomor 2 dari bawah, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. So these are the things yang menurut World Economic Forum matters. And if you master all these skills, you will shine in 2025 gitu ya. So very aligned with all the things that I talked before gitu. So basically, just want to use this as a validation to the conclusion that I got from my learning is actually something yang validated by World Economic Forum. So whenever you hear any talk before this, you may think that Norman apa sih gitu ya? It's just very subjective. This is your own subjective view from your own experience. You may say that, yeah, you have the right to do so, but you need to also understand that World Economic Forum also concludes the same. Gitu. And there are many people there. It's made of research and everything, so it's a solid results. Gitu. Okay, thank you very much. Mudah-mudahan this 1 hour talk gave you the ideas of how you can be a better engineers, how you can be a better person in general. And then if everyone thinks the same, the company that you are working at now can also be better. Gitu ya. Your customers will be served better. Gitu ya. And then if your customers will be served better, they will also do better in their life, in their job, in their company. And their company do better, the more companies do better, and everyone will do better. So it will makes everything better. Gitu. So jadi whenever you think, I'm just going to make myself better, and who am I sih? I'm just this small guy gitu. Tapi see the impact gitu. If you are better, your team is better, your company is better, your customers will better, the company your customer working at will be better. If everything will be better, yeah, the whole nation will be better. So if just everyone has this understanding, yeah, imagine how we can be better gitu kan.